By the end of today's episode, you'll know all about how to mentally work through challenges that set you back in your acting career. Welcome to the Actor's Career Compass, where we help aspiring screen actors find high-quality auditions, sign with great agents, and book major roles in legit productions. I'm your host, Martin Bentsen, and in today's episode, I interview Andrew Roth, who is a fantastic actor, and he has been in many independent films, and he has a very extensive resume on IMDb. Some of the things that we cover include mindset shifts and strategies you can use to push through constant rejection and long periods of no work, how to deal with self-doubt and feeling like you're not as good as other actors that you're competing against, and some subtle signs to look for that indicate things are starting to change for the better so that you avoid giving up. Ready to dive in? Hey everybody, I am super excited to be here today with actor Andrew Roth. He's a good friend of mine, and he's been in a few different films that I have done, from Dakota the movie, which is about a Siberian husky and this man who's facing a traumatic event from his past, to a short film that I did as well, where Andrew played a person experiencing homelessness who kind of came to our headshot studio, and we did headshots with him to help him. It was a fun project, but Andrew's been in all kinds of different things, and he has an extensive IMDb at this point. And it's funny, he's such a great guy. I remember the first time that we met, I was out in Long Island. I had been invited to his house, and we got together, and it's just fun to see someone who's so personable, who's like, hey, come on out, I can help you. He actually offered to help produce my film Dakota, which was part of the reason that I decided to actually work with him, because as I teach in some of my other things, having additional sort of skill sets that you can bring to a production can actually make you more likely to be cast if you can help with things. So not only is he an excellent actor, because I do have high standards for who I put into my films, but he also provided some other services. And I'm very excited to have him here because he's dealt with some crazy challenges throughout his own life, and he is kindly willing to talk about some of them and help with actors who may be facing their own challenges. So, Andrew, thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey as an actor and all the things that you've kind of faced?
Well, thank you for that kind introduction, Martin. I really appreciate it. Definitely had a wonderful time. Inviting you out to the apartment on Long Island. Didn't have a house. I don't want anyone to think that I actually had a big house or any of that stuff. But I've been fortunate enough to work in the medium and arts and film for probably, I guess, a good 15 years. I've had all kinds of roles, like you said, westerns, vampire movies. I get a lot of people who play addicts and violent guys, which is something I'm trying to get away from now in my older age. But when I was younger, I certainly loved it. And the thing that I find in my life is a lot of these darker roles that I took on for me, myself, outside of the world of acting, as an individual, I am naturally an empath, and I can pick up on other people's feelings, other people's vibrations, and a lot of those roles that I would take on. I took a lot of that darkness on. I'm kind of not full method actor, but I believe in all of that stuff. I really would go into deep dives, and sometimes you don't come out of it, which is something I always stress to actors to be careful to do. At the end of the day, we got to put that stuff down. When people ask you what it is that you do or who you are, and I'm not an actor. For me, I'm deeply spiritual. And for me, it's not about acting at all. At the end of the day, it's about having a connection with something greater than myself, and I'm a child of that, whatever you want to call it. And that's my job here. My job here is to spread goodness, raise everybody else's vibration, and by this, in turn, doing that from my own. And when you get a great role in a film, that's kind of what we have the opportunity to do. It's really an incredible responsibility and luxury at the same time to even be able to make a movie. We're not curing cancer. We're not running into a burning house, saving people. But in a sense, we're changing people's minds, just if even for a moment. actually we're allowing them to experience themselves differently, which may allow them to think differently, even if for a second. And I think every great actor, that's what they want to do. Like I saw Keanu Reeves recently talk about Matrix, which is 25 years old now, and how he changed. Really, I mean, that film for me touched me so deeply and made a huge impact on my life. And I think that's every actor's dream to be able to hear that from some fan, someone who respected your work. That man, you made an impact on my life with what you said, with that role. I identified with that, so we're blessed in that regard.
I love that. It's so cool what you talked about there. I teach something to actors strategically, which is called your passion brand, right? So I teach this idea of three levels of branding. Level one is your type, which is your physicality. What are the kinds of characters that you can play? Maybe it's a cop or something, or a detective, for instance, right? Then there's level two, which is your brand, which is basically taking your type and mixing your personality into it. So maybe you're the funny cop, let's say, right? But level three is what I call your passion brand, and that's your deeper purpose for acting beyond yourself. What is your goal? You don't just want to become famous and rich or something, but who do you care about beyond yourself? How are you going to use acting to help those around you, whether it's to expand their vision of what's possible in life, or as one of my clients actually who I met with earlier today, her passion brand is to empower women to feel more strong and feel like they can go and do the things that they want in life. There's something deeper and beyond yourself. And for you to talk about that and just bring that up right away, it really shows how important acting is to you. And I think it also shows why you've been able to be in so many productions, because you do feel like there's more of a purpose, and it's actually really important for you to get these roles and get out there and put your whatever you might want to call it out there for people to experience and learn and become better themselves. So that's amazing. I appreciate you sharing that. Now, my question here for you is there's a lot of actors who obviously face a lot of rejection, and many who have long periods of no work or very minimal work, or work that they're not super happy with. So, what kind of mindset shifts or other strategies have you found to be effective to push through periods like that?
The most important thing we always got to remember is that it's not about us. You know, a lot of times I didn't get roles, and when I would follow up with these people, it was, I feel like embarrassed to even say it, but they would say things like, "Well, you're too good looking for the role. The guy's more despondent." The guy, yeah, it's like nonsense. I'm too good looking. What do I need to do? Burn my face with an iron? So, but they would say things like that, or other times when I was really training a lot, I was too big, I was too physical, and this person was very meek. So the most important thing is we got to know our type, like you said. I tend to not believe in types. I don't ever want to be put in a box, but it's true. We do all have one. I believe in myself that I can play any role. 110%. I don't like to identify just to audition for a certain role, but some people are comfortable with that. They don't look to cry on camera. For me, I look for those roles because it's a cathartic process. But if we can always remember, it's not about us. And there's somebody else who has that type just a little bit better. If you know you've done your homework, you've memorized, they gave you the sides before the audition. If you have the sides before the audition and you don't memorize them, you're probably not going to get the part, because I guarantee there's somebody who's going to. I'm going to memorize those sides because I'm not going to look at the sides. I'm going to be looking at the person I'm reading with or the camera. If they can't see your eyes, they don't know what you're trying to make them feel. So those are just rules that you develop over time and through practice. But you got to know your type, and it's not about you. If you're good and you're solid and you've done your homework, you've got to trust in yourself, and you've got to have faith that you did the best you could, and it's the other person. If it's just been going on for a year and a half and you haven't gotten anything, well, that's a long time. You should change something. What it is, you look at back at what you're doing, look at the roles you've taken. And again, it goes to looking at your type and just being brutally honest with yourself. Don't ask your friends, because some of them are not going to want to hurt your feelings. You should ask people like your mom and your dad. For me, I would always say my mom and dad, because they just say it like it is, because that's how I say it like it is. You're not doing me a favor if you're being dishonest. You can be kind and be honest. You don't have to hurt somebody's feelings to tell them the truth of, this really wasn't you. What were you even thinking? You don't have to be hurtful about it. But so there's a bunch of little different things. Most important thing, we always got to get out of our head and stop overthinking. That's every actor's, I think, Achilles heel. It was mine a lot too. You just, yeah, don't overthink it. Not about you. It's been going on a long time. It's a problem that has to be changed, and it's definitely then I say it's about me. 2 years and I'm not working. I'm auditioning. Something's not working.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a lot of things that go into this, and it's true that you have to be realistic with the amount of time that it's been, right? Because there's two ends of this. One, you could go towards the crazy end of changing things every week. And that's like shiny object syndrome is what they call it. It's like, oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. And it's like you're not giving things a chance to actually stick and work. But on the other side, you could just stick with what you have for years and you're never booking anything and or holding yourself to a higher standard. Like you could keep booking the same types of roles, like independent films that are unpaid, let's say. But if you're not holding yourself to a higher standard, being like, I'm going to aim for paid roles now, or I'm going to try to book my first SAG after speaking role now, if you're not doing that and you're not seeing any progress and it's been years, then yes, I absolutely agree. You should definitely be changing stuff. So, good thought process there to really just analyze your situation in terms of the time frame and think about what would make the most sense. Am I being too crazy or am I actually being realistic about this? My next question is many actors do struggle with self doubt and comparing themselves to other people. So, do you have any advice that you would share for actors who are dealing with this sort of issue?
I think the most important thing that we got to do, anything that we first of all resist, we need to embrace. And that goes into everything, especially with self doubt. So embrace that self doubt because it's an aspect of yourself that you've not yet come to love and come to really accept. So it's off at a distance. You haven't brought it into your life. And I'm going a little bit of a deep dive here, but that's what I do. This is who I am. You got to welcome that aspect of yourself that is still self-doubting. You have to write and journal. What is the lie that I'm telling myself? What is the story that I'm telling myself that keeps me playing it small, playing safe, and not growing? And that's all self-doubt is. It's a story. It's a story that we've been handed down oftentimes from our childhood. And we have to stop that. It's up to us. It's not been anybody else's responsibility. Everybody who was raising us, everybody in our life, they were doing the best that they could at that moment. Even if it hurt us and it didn't feel like it was, that's what they were doing to love us and to care for us. So it's up to us to release that self-doubt and just move forward. Self-love, acceptance, all of that comes into part with it.
Nice. What you said about making sure that you sort of take responsibility for that, it reminded me of a really good book called The Success Principles. I believe it's by Jack Canfield. Really, really good book. The whole first chapter is taking 100% responsibility for everything in your life. And the more responsibility, let's say, that you take, the more power you start to feel in being able to change and do things for yourself. So I think that that's awesome. I love what you said there. My next question is just about encouragement and advice, right? So, do you have any specific words of encouragement or advice that you would be willing to offer actors who are definitely kind of going through this period of self-doubt, or even some actors who may be thinking, how much longer do I want to keep trying to do this because things are so challenging and it's so expensive, let's say, to pay the bills and make ends meet. What kind of advice or thoughts do you have just kind of in general for people?
The most important thing I think is so important. It's Joseph Campbell's quote, follow your bliss. And if the theater world and acting and film is what makes you happy, no matter what, you've got to do it. I can tell you from experience, the reason why I'm probably not as an A-lister yet or working on the big budget productions is because I always allowed myself to get distracted by a carrot that was in the window. You know what I mean? A great job, because I have other jobs that I work on, just not as an actor. And I would lose focus. And once you lose focus, like there was a great Will Smith plan as well. They said, "What was your plan B?" He said, "Well, I never had a plan B because I only had plan A. I knew if I looked at plan B, I'd be distracting me from plan A." So we've got to have that, like I also say, Tom Cruise focus, where he just works on one thing until it's completely squeezed out and there's nothing left in it. And then he moves on to the next thing. And we have to do that with everything that we do, not everything that we love, not just acting. I think if we want to succeed in anything, being a great attorney, being a great dentist, you've got to. Today, there's competition in all fields. Everybody's got a hook, you know. You got to find yours. Honestly, as corny as it sounds, I think that these days, and it's coming, it's more popular. The kinder you are, the nicer you are, the more you give back, help out others, you stand out way more than the people who are talking trash, the people who are at like that 90s, 2000, I'd like to say 80s even kind of mentality. It's gone. You know, the collective, I think, is rising. We're all realizing we are one family. We are doing this together, sharing only one planet. And it's just not about me. It's not about any of us. It's about the entire journey of all of us, how we grow collectively. Do you want to be a part of that? Or do you want to be the part that's just complaining and not finding solutions? I was like that for a long time. I was like that for a long time. I'm an 11-year sober recovered alcoholic. September 14th, as a matter of fact, just passed it last week. So I know, I come from all of that stuff. So it's so important to do for others as opposed to doing for yourself. And when you're living true and your levels are right, you don't want to just do for yourself. It's fruitless. You have nothing to show for it. But the moment you have stepped outside of yourself and you not even a sacrifice, that's not the right word, because it's not a sacrifice, it's a gift. Everything changes. And that's what Gandhi said when he said, meant, I think, when he said, be the change that you want to see in the world. Don't talk about it. And don't tell anyone that you did it. Just do it.
That's awesome. It all ties back to that passion brand that we were talking about earlier. There's a great video that I recommend people go check out on YouTube. I believe it's a TED Talk by Simon Sinek called Start with Why. I think that's what it's called. And it's really like completely life changing in terms of understanding how important your deeper why is for what you do if you want to stay focused and keep moving forward and everything. And when you combine that with what you also talked about, which was singular focus, staying laser focused on the one thing and not letting yourself get distracted by stuff. Those two things together, even if you don't have a plan, you'll figure out a way. So, before we wrap, I'd love to have you talk a little bit more about some projects that you're currently working on, and if actors want to be able to get in touch with you, if you're open to that, if they have questions, how they can reach out. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Sure. Well, the first of all, right now on Amazon Prime, but even better, Apple TV, Roku, and Tubi, Comcast, and Xbox is my most recent film called For Sale.
That is such a good movie. I watched it and it is really, really funny. Really, really good. I was amazed with it.
Thank you. Yeah, we were very fortunate to gotten picked up by Gravitas Ventures. Loved the film, and they put it out everywhere. It was done by my great friend Chris Schrack and myself. And Chris and I have known each other since probably 2009. As a matter of fact, the first film that I worked on with him, when I came to set, he could smell the alcohol on me, and that's where I'm moving to next. A lot of the things that I look to do now are about helping other people. A lot of recovery. That's the kind of work that I like to do. I'm a proud member of AA for 11 years, but I've gone into other ways of learning besides Alcoholics Anonymous, like A Course in Miracles. I'm deeply spiritual, so I read a lot of those books and I try to practice them, although I fail all the time. And what these practices encouraged me to do was kind of like write my whole life story, going back from childhood. I wrote this out a couple of years, maybe several years ago, and then I shared it with a few people, and they were like, "You should share this with the world as a play or something, because it shows how, in my story, which is really anybody's story, because we've all gone through some type of traumatic suffering, it shows us the patterns that we condition ourselves to with the suffering. And if we don't grow from it, if we become bitter, which is what I did, we actually become a lot like the people that we hated. And in my story, it's called Roth's Child, a memoir. My mother was never able to get pregnant. So when they found out that she was pregnant with me, my original biological father, he said, get an abortion. So she left me and married Mark Roth, who adopted me as I was one. And Mark was, I love my dad very much. We're very close now. We've gone through therapy. People have got to know that. He's very close to me. He's even helping me with getting my show off the ground. But my show, sadly, features a lot of how abusive dad was to us growing up. He was terrible. He was violent. He beat us. He screamed at us. We weren't allowed. It was a different time. But he was doing the best that he could. He actually thought he was loving us. And dad, sadly, was very abused and hurt people, healed people, heal people. So I guess my mission in this life was to choose to accept that and try to overcome it. But for a long period, I didn't. I became very violent. I moved into the world of martial arts, MMA, which was almost the exact opposite of my true nature. I'm honestly a mama's boy, and I'm proud to say it. You know what I mean? I love my mother. I love the sensitive kind of things, but I was too afraid to show that stuff. So naturally, I started to imbibe in drugs and alcohol. And for a long time in my life, I was a hardcore alcoholic, and I lost everything. I lost my acting career, friends, family. And I wrote my memoir out, and I was able to see the patterns in my life that I allowed myself to fall off track, and decided that I am going to share this with the world, because a lot of, I wouldn't say I'm a strong man, but I've been told that I am. You don't hear these things that they are so ashamed of: sexual abuse, physical abuse, just being a dirty liar and an angry, violent guy. People, we covet these things, and then we wind up projecting them onto other people. Or worse, we wind up judging other people for the same things because we've not yet forgiven that aspect of ourselves. So my goal with my memoir, which is called Roth's Child, a memoir, which I'm going to perform in New York City at the Actors Temple on 8th and 45th, will be the way we change the world by first forgiving ourselves, and then forgiving the people that we held accountable and we held them hostage for so long, blaming them for the way our lives turned out. Everybody, like, we've all had bad things done to us. I get it, but those people were not responsible for the way our lives turned out. We were. I chose to do all the violent things that I did, all the drinking, shitty ways that I was to people. Yes, those things happened to me and they colored my viewpoint, but I chose to do that. So with forgiveness, which is the most important thing, that's the first way I believe that we can grow and evolve. And that's what I'm trying to share the world, that the moment we share the things that we're most ashamed over, we heal ourselves again, and we heal the people that we're witnessing to, because we're showing them, wow, this person made peace with his own brother who sexually molested him, you know what I mean, when he was 7. How is that possible? Because other people have done it too. I'm not like some unique unicorn. I'm following the steps of people like Spalding Gray, who in the 70s was doing this. He was one of the only people. And you have wonderful artists like John Bon Jovi and Rob Lowe and even Bruce Springsteen who are doing this. They're playing their music, sharing. Like, memoirs are always the glory days, and people don't identify with that. I mean, so many of us believe ourselves to be broken. We're having hard times. It's like, but there's a great awakening at the same time. And this awakening is because of forgiveness and accountability. In my mind, that's what I believe. Not about anybody else. It's about me stepping up, taking my power back, and moving forward with only love. And we have a GoFundMe going on right now, which I know you'll tell your fans about. But the page is Roth's Child Memoir, and the GoFundMe is embedded in there. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to. Well, not hopefully, we will share it with the world. It will be filmed and streamed as well for those people who won't be able to come see it in person.
Nice. That's awesome. So we're going to try to include the link as well to that in the podcast description. So if you're listening to the podcast now, you can go into the description, you can check it out. Very, very amazing project. I appreciate you sharing the info about it. And I think for many people, they'll get something out of this, no matter what type of background they come from. So this is awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew, for being here today and for sharing your wisdom and experience with actors who are facing their own challenges in life. And yeah, really, really appreciate your time.
Before we go, I'd like to give a great see out because you gave me such a wonderful introduction. I remember when I did meet Martin, Martin's mind is like one of a kind. He's really, really brilliant, and I think he just doesn't. He undersells himself. He plays himself down a lot. But I would always tell that to people. Man, he's a genius. This guy, and I say that it's also because of how much he really listens to people and how much he gives 110%. That's what he does. Like that's who Martin is. And I am just really fortunate that you stayed in my life when so many other people, I lost a lot of people, but you stayed. And when I was a full blown alcoholic and you knew me and you knew all that stuff. And man, I love you and I'm so grateful for you. And you're a family man now. It's amazing. Patrick and Erica. And yeah, I couldn't be more proud of you to say that I'm a friend of yours.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's definitely been a great, great number of years that we've known each other. So, yeah, thank you again for being here today, and can't wait to see where this production goes and to continue seeing your progress in your career and to see when we'll be able to work on our next project together at some point. So,
Amen to that.
all right, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Martin. Have a great week. Ciao.
Well, thanks so much for listening. Now, if you want to dive even deeper on psychology and how to get unstuck no matter where you are in your career, I highly recommend checking out my podcast called Feeling Stuck, Here's How to Unstick Your Film Acting Career, which is episode number 40. I promise that you'll learn a ton and you'll have a much better understanding of exact steps that you can take to figure out what's holding you back and how to move past it. Check it out again. It's episode number 40. Called Feeling Stuck, Here's How to Unstick Your Film Acting Career on the Actor's Career Compass. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.